Disclaimer for YouTube, Jim does have Tourette's, so please excuse any bad language.
Coming up,
Well, it's knowing where your meat comes from.
we're going to need a very minimum of we are actually paying. Let's talk about the legal side.
So in regards to things that we would do differently, welcome or welcome back. I'm Lou.
I'm Jim and we are Fields and Flocks. We've been raising our own chickens for meat now for about, you cheeky little bastard, 4 years. We've done 3 seasons and we raised some previously in a small garden.
In today's episode, we are going to take you through how to get your meat birds, what you'll need, and the rules and regulations around doing so.
We'll even tell you the costs that you can expect. So I had a car crash in 2018, which left me with some disabilities. And we have got videos on that. But in short, it led me and my wife Lou to change our lives and decide to become smallholders. But we didn't start here, did we? We started back in our garden with just a garden and some veg beds and a few chickens. That was in about 2020. So, yes, fucking Pratt! We are kind of not experts, but we've learned a lot in the 5 years since we first processed chickaletta all the way through to processing our meat birds now. And we wanted to share some of our knowledge with you all. And we're going to start this part with why did we decide to keep meat birds? And I think, Lou, you're going to answer this one. So why did we decide to keep meat birds?
Well, it's knowing where your meat comes from and that it's, first of all, good quality. I'm sure many of you have seen the programmes on telly about where your supermarket or your general shop chicken comes from, and it's horrific. So we kind of were like, well, we don't want to eat meat that's had a life like that. You want to eat meat that's had a good life. It's raised well. It's raised on good, proper, good quality food. And you notice the difference, don't you? When you eat a chicken that's been raised properly and is healthy, you do notice the difference, and you can't really compare it, can you? It's yeah.
No, definitely. And for me as well, it was a bit of an ethical conundrum. I kind of had got a bit more spiritual, I suppose is the correct term, in my recovery, and now that led me on to a question whether I could even take a life, and if I couldn't, perhaps maybe I should become a vegetarian. And so that's why we really got into it, wasn't it? To see if this was a path we wanted to go down.
We're in a very desensitised world when it comes to meat, I think, and I think we suddenly realised how desensitised we were, and we didn't feel it was right. There are 2 main types of meat birds. First of all, you have your Hubbard.
In the UK.
In the UK, yes. First of all, you have your Hubbard.
Yes.
Second of all, you have your Rosses. Now, there are hybrids in between, but we're not going to go through that in today's episode. Ultimately, the Hubbards are more of a slow-growing bird. Your Rosses are what are known as a Franken chicken, which one way to explain it is that they've been bred and chosen and selected for how quickly they put on meat. So they're very gluttonous. They do put on meat very quickly, but you have to be careful, don't you?
And when Louisa says the Hubbards are a slow-growing chicken, they're still a slow-growing meat chicken. So if you compared a meat chicken to a normal chicken, even a Hubbard is significantly bigger in scope, isn't it? Size, sorry,
Yeah, but with the Rosses, you do have to be a bit careful because they're so gluttonous. They can hit a point where they put weight on so quickly they literally can't move and they can't walk. And then you go for the opposite end where you think, well, that's no life for a bird if you've eaten so much food you can't move.
So if you want to get your own meat bird, where you start is on Google. So you type in hatcheries near me or a poultry supplier near me. Find one that says they do meat birds and just simply send them an email and they will either arrange delivery, or if you're locally enough, you can go pick it up. But quite often hatcheries do deliver. You're gonna need a few supplies. So you are gonna need a very minimum of a heat plate. We picked up this one for £39. You're gonna need a drinker, and we've got 4 of these for £25.99. You've got to pick up a feeder, and we got this one for £7.26. You're gonna also need some sawdust and somewhere to put them. We built a brooder with wood we had lying around, and so that didn't cost us anything. And we also had, the year before, when we only had a few birds, we kept them in a hamster or a guinea pig cage, was it?
It was a guinea pig cage initially.
We kept them in a guinea pig cage, just with a heat plate, and they were absolutely fine in there until they needed to come out. But I'd say you could only get 5 at a max in a space that small.
Alternatively, a second option you do have is, whilst you can get them as day-old chicks and then you have to raise them under the heat mats, you can also, and some places will let you buy them as off-heat birds, by which point they've done all that part for you, although there will be a slightly higher cost, but means you can put them straight out either into pasture, in the garden, and obviously have a shorter window.
They're obviously more expensive. So for a day-old chick, either a Ross or a Hubbard, we are actually paying £2.50 a chick. And for off-heat, I think the price increases to about £7.50. So the cost efficiency there then does drop. If you can do it from chick, you do get a better cost efficiency. If you're liking the video so far, please remember to give us a like, hit the subscribe, and please leave us a comment. It really helps us with the algorithm and getting the videos out to more people. We really appreciate all the likes and the love, and I've got a chicken on my shoulder. Boom! You stinky prick. Now, this is very personal to your situation, but there is a vast ways that you can set up your pen to house chickens, and this isn't really the video for that, but you do need appropriate housing. We have an electric netting around the field, but you can get, if you're in a small garden and you've got secure fences, you're going to be absolutely fine in that setup. And if you've already kept chickens and you're thinking about moving over to perhaps rearing a few meat birds, the housing requirements are very similar.
They can intermix really, can't they?
Yeah.
So the way we did ours, first of all with the brooder...
Get your tits out, yes! Sorry.
So the way we did ours with the brooder to begin with was, as we mentioned, it's just made out of recycled wood, but essentially it's just 4 walls supported well with a floor. We did put a kind of tarp material stapled over the edge just to stop the wood rotting, and essentially a lid, which we just made a frame with chicken wire, put over the top. But ultimately they just need a contained space with a lid where they've got plenty of space for water and to roam around as they get a little bit larger. When we send ours out to pasture, we have, as you might see behind us, we have a raised coop. Now ours is raised purely and simply because of the predators we have to contend with here.
Well, and rodent issues. If you have your coop on the floor, rodents do like to bury underneath it, so it is advised to leave your coop,
at least a little bit, yeah. And if you buy any, generally they will be so far off the ground for that purpose. But yeah, ultimately we've just again given them enough space with perches, haven't we, this time, to make sure they can perch comfortably at night. Chicken wire on the bottom, again for airflow, and just somewhere with the roof to protect against the elements and give them enough space of a night time.
We are in here with our Hubbards, and we've got 40 of them at the moment, and this is our first batch of the year, and they're about 8 weeks old at the moment. They're a good size, but we are probably going to let them go for another 3 weeks. The Hubbards can get really big. We had one last year that weighed 4.8 kilograms, and that was absolutely natural. It had lived a good life. It was a healthy bird, like these ones here are. But we don't find the Rosses are the same, and with the Rosses you have to be careful, don't you? If you do not feed them the right amount, you can get into some trouble. So I am going to tell you the right amount now, and I don't remember it. I have a little chart in my thing, so I've took a picture of my chart and I'm just going to tell you. So for the first week, you do chick crumb anywhere between 40 and 50 grams. Second week, you go up to about 60 or 70 grams. Then for week 3 and 4, I do a grower's pellet of 80 to 100 grams. This is per bird. 5 to 6, 120 to 150 grams. And 7 to 12, you can give them 160 to 180 grams. Now, I highly recommend weighing that out, especially with the meat birds, especially if, like us, I imagine you'd want to grow them to be the healthiest bird they can be, and they really can. It was a mistake we made with our first lot. They really can get too big too quick. So if you want them to be nice, free ranging, happy,
yeah,
this is the way to do it, isn't it?
Definitely.
Let's talk about the legal side, which is a very important side, and what steps you'll need to take if you are raising meat birds for yourself in the UK. First off, even if you've just got one bird, you now need to register your flock with DEFRA. That's part of the new rules that came in as of October 2024. It used to only be if you had 50 or more, now it's everyone. And to be honest, the process wasn't too hard to get it. You can register online with the APHA, the Animal Plant and Health Agency. You just need to give your name, address, type and number of birds, what they're for and what kind of setup you've got. It's really, it is very straightforward. I was a bit opposed at first and thought it was a bit of a faff, but after using the website, it was really easy. Then by law, you've got to update your details at least once a year, or any time something major changes, like you scale up or scale down your flock. If, like us, you're raising chickens for personal use only, there's no license needed to dispatch them yourself. You can humanely dispatch poultry on your own land as long as it's for your own consumption, not for sale or for anyone else. But you do have to follow the welfare at time of killing regulations, known as WATOC. That means the method must cause immediate loss of consciousness and death with minimal suffering. You're allowed to use manual cervical dislocation, the broomstick method, or mechanical devices like a captive bolt. Whatever method you use, you've got to be confident and competent. It's your responsibility to do it right. Once you've go over 50 birds, more rules kick in. You'll need a CPH number and you must report changes to flock size, especially if it increases or decreases by 20% or more. You'll also be expected to keep records, including any birds that arrive or leave your holding, medicines or treatments given, deaths or losses, feed and housing details, and any testing. It's all about traceability and disease control. Now, if you're raising 40,000 birds, which, let's be honest, most of us aren't, you'll also need an environmental permit under pollution prevention and control. But for most smallholders or hobby food rearers, you're well under that line. One thing that I must make crystal clear is you cannot sell or give away meat from birds you dispatch yourself at home. That's against the law unless the birds are slaughtered at a licensed premises and inspected. So if you're raising for yourself, totally fine, but if you want to sell meat to the neighbours or at markets, you'll need to go through the proper abattoir route. So that's the law. Register your flock, even if it's one bird. Dispatch humanely for your own use only. Keep records if you go over 50. No selling home processed meat, and update your details every year or when things change. Follow those 5 points and you know you're doing it right. So the daily realities of living with it. If you've kept chickens before, you're going to know this, but there are some tasks you have to do every day. You have to feed them, you have to give them water, and you have to shut and open the coop. You can get some options that help here. You can get some electric coops, but for us, we've found, especially with the meat birds, because of the increase in predators, that we have been actually catching them early, and we have to round them up. And it is a bit of a hoo-far. Foo-far? Yay! You
hoo-ha.
cheeky little
Hoo-ha.
Yes! Get there in the end.
Yeah, the meat birds don't naturally kind of go in on their own like egg layers would. So we do, and you.
They might if we left them late enough, but we can't risk it with the amount of predators we've got around here. We can't have them at dusk, so we tend to try to put them in earlier. I think that's a bit of it as well.
And I think whether you've got them in the countryside, in a larger piece of land, or just in a back garden, it's important you do put them in, because foxes are everywhere, wherever you live, amongst other predators, and your chickens will be an easy target for them.
So we filmed ourselves, we put some comical music on it, and you'll see us trying to catch them in the evening so you can get a feel for it. And we do actually vlog, and this was released in one of our vlogs, so if you like it, we're forever doing funny things like that in our vlogs, or I think they're funny sometimes. Sometimes they don't work, and Lou tells me to take them out, but sometimes they work. But yeah, we release a vlog most Thursdays.
In regards to things that we would do differently, there's things that we've already changed over the years. This coop next to us is our most up-to-date way of doing things. Other than the ladder, which we do a few tweaks to, it works well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It suits our needs and what we like to do.
Boom.
The first time we actually did the meat birds, we ended up doing one of the batches at the wrong time of year. The latter end of having them was, the weather was starting to turn a bit cold, wasn't it? And being in Wales, it's very wet and the conditions weren't great. So we now make sure that we start them earlier, so they're around purely and
in the summer.
In the summer. But also is we used to do 3 batches a year, but that, for the weather, made it difficult to get all 3 done before the cold weather started to set in. So this year we're doing 2 bigger batches, which I think is going to be better, because the actual processing side, there's a lot to set up, there's a lot of cleaning and tidying to do, and I think if we can do more in one go, while you've got it all set up, it's easier to do it there and then. So yeah, 2 big batches this year I think is going to work for us quite well.
So thank you guys for tuning in. If it was your video and you were just curious, I hope it's answered some questions. Now we are going to be processing these birds in a few weeks, and we will be sharing our advice, how to do it, and the cost that we've paid on raising these birds to the exact. So keep an eye out for that video. Make sure you hit the subscribe so you don't miss out on videos like that, or our future content such as our vlogs. See you in the next one.